I'm Rob Steele, but this week I'm ceding my blurb to a higher power.
Hi, this is Dale Murphy, and you're listening to The Real Sports Jam.
All right, we're starting off the show a little bit different this week. With me right now is our very special guest, Atlanta Brave legend, Dale Murphy. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Wanted to go ahead and just get right into it. With spring training underway, we wanted to kind of get you to compare your first spring training with your last spring trainings. What kind of changes happened during your magnificent career?
Well, thank you. Yeah, my first spring training, it's interesting. A lot of people always ask me the question, did I overlap with Hank Aaron? My first spring training was 1975, and his last year with the Braves was 74, and he was with Milwaukee in 75. So that's one thing I always wished I could at least have been in one spring training with Hank. But I missed Hank. So my first year was 1975. I went there, of course, as drafted as a catcher. And, I did pretty much what first-year spring training catchers do. Their first spring training is warm up a lot of pitchers. And so I spent a lot of time in the bullpen and got into a few games. Didn't have any visions or feelings that I wasn't, had no thoughts about making the team, obviously. I signed the previous summer in 74, so my first spring training was 75, and it was, I was scared to death. I mean, there were just the veterans. You really feel just like so much like a high school kid with guys in their mid-20s, early 30s, and mid-30s, and just everything was very uncomfortable, I have to be honest with you. But the guys were great. Ralph Garr was there. Dusty Baker was there. Buzz Capra was there. Andy Messersmith was there. And I just remember one memory I have is warming up Andy Messersmith in the bullpen, and thinking to myself, if this is what I have to hit to make it to the big leagues, I got a lot of work to do. He had pinpoint control with all of his pitches, and it was a great learning experience. But I've always appreciated the way the guys treated me. One other anecdote: Davey Johnson was there, and I'm sitting in the dugout, just a kid, and the Rawlings people are there, and he goes up to me. He goes, hey Murph, you got a glove contract? And of course I was a rookie A-ball. I was going to A-ball that year. I said no, and that was big because if you didn't have a contract, you had to buy your own stuff
Right.
at a discount, but it was still way too expensive. And he brought me over to the Rawlings people, introduced me, said, you guys got to sign this guy. He's the number one pick. He's going to make it someday. And that's how I got introduced to Rawlings. And I always appreciated Davey Johnson for that.
That's cool.
I actually, you asked me to compare it to my next spring trainings, or my last one. The ones at the end of my career were just a lot more fun and a lot more relaxed. Once you've got a teammate and you're in the big leagues, spring training really becomes a lot of fun. Just trying to get in shape and ready to go. Of course, at the end of my career, I had a few injuries, and so that made spring training a little bit more interesting, I guess. But spring training became a lot more fun as my career went on.
Something I've been curious about is spring training just a constant working out thing, broken up by the occasional game, or is it, hey, we're in Florida, let's bring the family and go look at Florida things, or how exactly does that
You
work?
probably want the real scoop, huh? Here's what I tell people. I say spring training before the games start. This is after you made the team and you're in the big leagues. Here's my and I'm joking a little bit. It's not totally like this, but this is how laid back it is. Once you're a veteran, you go to the ballpark, you take some BP, and then you go play golf. And then once the games start, you go to the ballpark, you take BP, you get a couple at bats, and then you go play golf. Um, and I'm exaggerating, but not too much. But no, you know, you're working out in the morning, doing your weights, doing your drills. Once the game starts, you pretty much have the same morning schedule. Your workout, take a lot of BP. Obviously, you get paced in spring training if you're a veteran. If you're a young kid, you want to get every at bat you can. And but I will have to say that no, it's a highlight for veteran families and their kids, especially now with the Braves in Orlando at Disney World. It really is a highlight of a family's time in baseball. It's a lot of fun. Obviously, the weather's warm. It's a great vacation for families right now, but you know, it's pretty relaxed until you start tuning it up the last week to 10 days. You start playing more, and you always kind of take it seriously, but it's definitely a relaxed atmosphere, a lot of fun, actually, a lot of fun.
I noticed on your website you've got the I Won't Cheat Foundation. And I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. During the height of the steroid issue, some friends of mine were just sitting around. We're parents of young kids and coaching young kids, and we were really discouraged that the message, you know, whenever there's a problem like that, the message to kids and to most people is that everybody is taking this stuff in the major leagues. You know, that's just what everybody's doing. And, you know, I knew that wasn't true. I knew we were in a problem, that there were more guys, that it was a problem. So we just decided, hey, we got to get this message out to kids. You don't have to take performance-enhancing drugs to be a great athlete. You know, I didn't take them, and most guys aren't taking them, and things like that, and all the problems with them. And so we started down that road and got some good advice from people is like, you really ought to broaden your message, because even though performance-enhancing drugs is an issue with young kids, there's a lot of character issues that are a lot of problems for kids. General drug abuse, bullying, academic cheating, performance-enhancing drugs, and like I said, just drug abuse, other issues. So we just kind of moved to broaden our message. That's still part of our message, but it's a foundation where we try to just tell kids that, you know, you can be a success, and you can do things the right way. It's just not it's not something that, contrary to what you see on TV and in sports and with a lot of problems around the world, that you don't have to bend corners, you don't have to cheat, you don't have to take shortcuts. You can do things the right way. That's kind of, the character matters most above all that you achieve in life. And that you can achieve everything you want to achieve and do things the right way. That message is kind of compromised sometimes when you watch sports and you hear what's going on. So that's basically our message, and we're just trying to slowly grow that message.
Well, going along those same lines, I suppose, what do you think about the Ryan Braun situation that's come up?
Wow. Well, this you know,
I lots of gray areas in this one, I think.
There really are, and there's a lot of gray areas in the whole thing with a lot of the guys, because a lot of things. But I you know, I don't know. The first thing that comes to my mind is what a tragedy that the thing was leaked, because it really messed everything up as far as being able to work through this. One way or another. The fact that it leaked and that there are some details out there really raises all the speculation about how it compares to things in the past, to so-and-so's test. Well, you know, it really bothers me that because that really creates the whole problem with, why don't they address this? Why don't they address that? Now that it's been leaked, well, anyway, I have a thought on that. I was just going to say that a couple of things. You know, I agree with the arbitrator's decision. I think that was the right decision. I don't agree with what Major League Baseball did after the arbitrator's decision, in that I felt like they really tried to bury Ryan Braun. And you know, once the decision is made, both sides should say, The decision's been made. We're moving on. I understand MLB's part is that they wanted to make sure that everybody knew that, hey, this is his decision, but look, we still have this test result that's a big issue. And I know that people are frustrated, some people that he got off on a technicality. Apparently, that's what it looks like. I'm still very confused by a lot of things. I don't think we have all the details, and so things are really confusing to me. It just really makes no sense. A guy that has the reputation of Ryan Braun and has tested okay in so many instances, and then to have the testing increase in the middle of the playoffs or at the beginning of the playoffs where he knows it's going to increase, for him to all of a sudden inject himself or somehow, some way get this stuff into his system just really boggles my mind that he would even think about it, and he has maintained that he didn't. So I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that. Ryan Braun said in his press conference, I need to look at the transcript, but he said something to the effect that I remember when this first happened that he said, although he couldn't say too much, he said, I'm really anxious to get my side of the story out. I would like him to do that. I think he should do that because I don't think the technicality that the sample was not shipped for a couple days is his side of the story. I think it was the defense that they used to get him off, but I wish that he would say, here is my story. Here is exactly what happened. In his press conference, he said, I'm still not going to, he said something to the effect, I'm still not going to go into the details because this isn't about me. We don't need to go into it, to protect the, Major League Baseball, the game, and this whole process. We're going to move on, and I'm innocent, etc. I say, since it was leaked, I say the more details, the better. It's counterintuitive, maybe, but I say I want to hear your side of the story, Ryan, because he apparently, when it first broke, was that no, I'm going to tell everybody what happened, and now that the decision has been made, that so that's what I think. Personally, I think it'd be good for him and baseball to get all of the story. I still don't think we have all of the story. So it's an unfortunate thing. He's a very good guy, great ball player. He doesn't have the appearance that he's on some serious juice, roids like the old days. Something happened to that sample. Something happened to that test. I'm really trying to still figure it out, but he's a very believable guy. His reputation and everything, and I just would like more information.
Can't say I disagree with you on that. I think there is something missing. And I know with as much murder mystery shows as I watch them,
yeah.
Come back from the commercial break. Where's the rest of the story?
Yeah. It's counterintuitive, I think, again, for someone to think, look, we get into the details, it's over. I just say, no. It would be really helpful if you have some more to say about it, because when it first happened, I remember him saying, I'm looking forward to sharing my side of the story. And I just don't think his side of the story is, back then, I didn't get the feeling, was that the sample sat for a couple days. I didn't think that was the story. I thought he had more to say, and I thought he alluded to it in his press conference. Maybe we'll never know, but it always helps to shed all the light on these kind of things, whether it's good or bad, whether it makes him look good or bad. It helps him. I say it helps Major League Baseball. I think some of the steroid issues with the guys that have been accused have come up because they weren't forthcoming about it. Just tell us. We can all accept whatever the truth is, but when we don't know what the truth is or it ends up not being the truth, that's where we all have problems.
Like I think it was what Jason Giambi said, that, hey, yes, I did do it, and people kind of got over his case a lot quicker.
Exactly. Just tell us what's going on, because we can all deal with that. And we all accept it. We'll all accept it. It's just, and I'm not saying Ryan isn't telling the truth. What I'm saying is, again, repeating myself, but I think there's some details that he's been told not to share. Maybe there's ongoing lawsuits that we don't know about. Uh, uh,
That's a
a
possibility,
possible
yes.
lawsuit for me, if I were him, is the leak, because it's damaged my career. Uh, I ended up getting off. You can argue that whether he got off, but the point is, somebody leaked something that damaged my reputation and my career. I think I would pursue that. I would pursue everything I could, because so maybe that's one of the reasons why he can't talk. Maybe there's some more things going on that we don't know.
Okay. I guess back to the spring training stuff, I guess. Because I know you still have ties with the Braves. Wanted to ask you if Jason Hayward had something of an off year last year. Do you think he's actually going to come back and live up to all the expectations that were placed on him, I guess, when he was a rookie?
Well, I think so. I think he's going to bounce back. I think the expectations. I'm glad I didn't break in with expectations that he has. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to be a Major League Baseball player, let alone the fact that you can't grow in and learn how to perfect your craft without thinking, well, he should be Hank Aaron right now. I mean, that's just totally unfair to anybody. Let's take a guy like Jeff Francoeur, who I love and wish was still with the Braves. That's another story. But you see how he's developing, how he's getting better and better and better. And he broke in. He did great. But there's always ups and downs. And even throughout your career, there's ups and downs. I think Jason Hayward is just a fantastic ball player. Yeah, ups and downs. Look at the first few years of my career. Everybody's career, except for very few guys, have ups and downs. Very few. Chipper, Brian McCann. I mean, there's just not a lot of guys that don't go through some tough times. I think he's going to be fine. He's got great tools, and look forward to him bouncing back. But it is a challenge because he did make a splash as a rookie, and he is very athletic. So you just kind of expect, well, this stuff's just going to happen. It's better for him, and he'll learn how to play the game with a little bit of a challenge, like last year. And I also think the little injuries, really can mess up your swing and your mind in baseball. And I think he had some things that weren't really little. I think he had shoulder injuries. So look forward to him being healthy and bouncing back. Yeah, I have a lot of confidence in Jason Hayward. A lot of confidence.
Something to go along with that, I guess. Tommy Hanson is coming back with from this concussion. But if his issues don't clear up, do you think there's a chance that Atlanta would sign someone like, say, Roy Oswalt?
Well, from just the little chatter I've seen on the internet, doesn't look like they're too interested. But we got some young pitchers on that staff that a guy like Roy Oswalt could fill till they're ready. I don't see it being Hanson. I think I like him. I think it sounds like he's making a few changes in his delivery, maybe take some pressure off his shoulder. I think he had a little shoulder issue last year. But Tehran, Delgado, and maybe some other young pitchers that I'm not familiar with right now, you don't know when they're going to really blossom. So I think, that's a thought. But from what I see, there doesn't seem to be a lot of interest in a guy like Oswalt. But you never know. You never know. Maybe fill in till the young guys are ready. But my gut, without having any firsthand knowledge, is that the Braves like their young guys. They're going to get them in there, maybe take a few lumps. But we got good defense. These guys are talented young pitchers. They throw strikes, which is a big thing. Minor's another guy you could put in there that's trying to find his way through it. I don't see a veteran there. I coming in. I think they're going to go with these young guys. Whether it's totally smooth sailing or not, I think they're going to go with these young guys because they like them. They've gotten their feet wet. I think they're going to go with them. I think.
Okay. And after, I guess, last year's, people called it a collapse at the end of the season. I don't know that it was that dramatic, but do you have any advice for the young players that something like that doesn't happen again, where they've got such what people thought was an insurmountable lead that turned out not to be. Do you have any advice on how to maintain that through the season or
Yeah,
toward the end,
I
I
don't
guess?
think I don't think the word collapse would be inappropriate. I don't think as a player I would have used it during the season. But for all of us looking at it, I think it's fair to say that it was a collapse offensively, and well, you don't lose an eight. I think it was 8.5 game lead, and the Red Sox as well. You don't lose those kind of leads in September unless it's a collapse, kind of on all phases of the game. And that's what happened. It was historic. I think they would take. I think they would take any lead right now in September and take their chances. If they had an 8.5 game lead next year, I'm going with the Braves. I mean, this year, 2012. There's really nothing you can do so much as to experience and go through it and learn from it. In '82, when we won the division, we had a terrible August. That's what we had. We had a terrible August. We recovered in September. They had a terrible September, and you don't have any time to recover. And
Right.
uh, it was a mess. I think they'd all agree to that, and they'll be better for it going through it. But tough to take, very tough to take, no question about it, no question. Wow, it's a on the other hand, you always no matter what you do in life, you always look at the positive. They had an 8.5. Am I saying that right? Did they have an 8?
I wanted to say it was, yes, an eight and a
The
half.
more I say it, the more I'm thinking, how did that happen? I mean, they of course it was 8.5 game lead in the wild card. I mean,
Right.
I'm saying it like it was an 8.5 game lead in the division. So that's one of the things that makes the race great, this wild card race. But well, yeah, it's just it was an incredible thing. What I was going to say was, what's the positive from it? They had an 8.5 game lead in September. I mean, they're a good team. They're a good team.
Yes.
You can't tell me the Red Sox aren't a good team. Did they have a collapse last year? Yeah, they did. But that's a good team. This is a good team. Um, it was historic. I mean, that just doesn't happen that often. It's a good team the Braves are putting out.
Made for some great watching at the end of the
Oh
season.
man, that was the
Everyone
craziest,
edge of their seats and
the
everything.
craziest stuff. And that's one good thing about the wild card. It's really created a lot of good races. It helped create races.
What do you think about them adding another wild card team? Whether it's probably not this year, I think, but next
Is
year.
it next year? Yeah,
I think it's a bit late to put it in this year.
yeah. I think
But
you're right. I think it's 2013. I like it. I mean, who doesn't like giving more teams a chance, as long as we don't end up giving way too many teams chances. I mean, you gotta, but I like it. I think they're talking about a play-in game or a 2 out of 3 or something, another wild card game. I mean, it's hard not to like your city having a chance to your team having a chance to get in. So I think it'll be good. I don't see any issues with it so far.
and I wanted to ask this, and I know could be a touchy subject, and I apologize for that, but are you as frustrated with the Hall of Fame voting as I am? Because I expected you to be in by now, and every year it comes out, and I go, where is he? He's
Yeah.
not. Why is he not on the list? I don't understand
Yeah,
that.
well, frustration. Frustration would be two things. One, you have 65%, and you can't get into the 75%. I mean, there's people that have gotten 70% or so, or 68, and didn't get in. To me, that would be very frustrating. I mean, I don't know. I would be just like, hey, what do I need? Like 8 more votes or something to get me in the Hall of Fame. And some people have been closer to 75% and not make it. My percentage is very low, so I would say I'm not so much. I'm a little frustrated or a little surprised, I guess, that it's so low. I mean, I think I might have gotten into 20% maybe early on in my eligibility, but I've been 15% or lower So, with all the people that I do have that's been supportive, I guess that's one thing I would say is I thought I would have more support among the voters. People are very optimistic about possibility of Veterans Committee, and we'll see. That would be fun. So, I'll say I'm optimistic about those chances there. Obviously, I'm not optimistic about my last year, next year, being voted in. It would be totally unprecedented. So,
Is it already? It can't be that far, is it?
yes, my eligibility years, I think next year is my last year.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think.
wow, miscalculated that.
I think that's right. But then there's other options with the Veterans Committee. So we'll see. I mean, I think there's a place in there for me, but where it is or when it is, we'll see.
I think it's got to happen someday because I remember watching you and you were just trying to figure out how to phrase this. You were everywhere on, defensively, offensively.
Well, thank
One of
you. I appreciate that. I have some people that are, very supportive, and I think I have some comparable players that are in there that my numbers are comparable to. So we'll see. We'll see.
Mr. Murphy, I appreciate you being on our show this week. Hopefully we can have you back sometime soon.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Give me a call anytime.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.